So I know there are going to be some people who are thinking that I'm just dancing on the grave of St. Louis Blues fans and doing this because I'm being spiteful, but no, I just want to make videos talking about the Stanley Cup playoffs and things that I noticed, things that I just think are interesting enough to talk about. And when it comes to talking about teams that have been eliminated, there's always a lot more discussion with these teams than the ones that win. But of course, congrats to the Colorado Avalanche. These guys are absolutely crazy good. We know how good they have been, and there's a reason why everybody has been kind of pegging them as either a pretty good bet for being a third or maybe even fourth round Stanley Cup appearance team this season. However, I will say this series over here, the 4-0 sweep of Colorado against St. Louis, even though it was pretty lopsided, and we'll get into that as we go along with this video, I will say, when it comes to the concerns that Craig Berube and Blues fans in general feel towards the officiating, yeah, that's real, man. It really is. The officiating this season has been, I don't know, some people say it's been a lot similar to before, it's just now people are becoming more aware of it, but I don't know, man, officiating this year has been absolutely terrible, so inconsistent, the timing of these calls is so whack, and the St. Louis Blues definitely didn't get themselves any favors from the refereeing in this series. However, I'm really not a Blues fan. I definitely don't care too much for the St. Louis Blues, especially since we had that Vancouver thing a year ago in the first round of the playoffs, but the Blues definitely aren't in a position where I think officiating decided the series, but it was indeed a part of it, therefore I thought I would bring it up at the very least. So we're going over back to before the Stanley Cup playoffs even began to start our story, because the St. Louis Blues ended up defeating the Minnesota Wild in the last game of their season, and after everything wrapped up, earlier this month, Ryan O'Reilly, the captain of the Blues, came onto the microphone and he said this about their upcoming opponents, the Colorado Avalanche. We know that they have a lot of talent over there, and they work hard. But for us, it's an exciting challenge. We're going to have some fun. And we're going to beat them. Now, he didn't say it like that, oh, we're going to beat them. He just kind of let it out as a passing comment at the end of his sentence, and we're going to beat them, like that. Just like a quick little, did he just really say that they're going to win kind of thing? And we know the St. Louis Blues were literally the Stanley Cup champions 2 seasons ago, but last year against the Vancouver Canucks in the first round of the bubble playoffs, hey, they didn't really look all too great. I actually kind of take that back. Now, they looked pretty okay. It's just Jordan Binnington really wasn't great, and we had Vancouver really step up as a team that wanted it more throughout the series, and Bo Horvat just kind of came alive in that first round. So, last year's Stanley Cup playoffs champion Blues team going into the first round ended up losing 4-2, and this season, hey, they're looking to redeem themselves by putting up a big fight to the Colorado Avalanche, the scary Colorado Avalanche, the big #1 team in the NHL Colorado Avalanche, and so many Blues fans are super excited to see the confidence. However, Game 1 comes and goes, and the Colorado Avalanche, they get goals from Cale Makar early on. The second period has a goal from Jordan Kyrou. That first 40 minutes of play in Game 1 honestly seemed pretty tight. It's just, in the third period, we had ourselves Nathan MacKinnon at the start of the period, Landeskog in the middle frame, and Nathan MacKinnon at the end of the period too. The Avalanche end up winning Game 1 by a lopsided 4-1 score, despite the fact that the Blues honestly did play a pretty solid start to the series, and I honestly thought it could have gone either way. It's just, the Avalanche were so good at executing that wear and tear style of game, where they really just outworked the Blues for the entirety of the 60-minute frame in Game 1, to the point that the Blues ended up just succumbing to the pressure and cracking down. And at the end of the day, hey, Game 1 has a 3-point night for MacKinnon and 1 St. Louis Blues goal. Okay, what happens in Game number 2? Well, Colorado ends up winning Game 2 6-3. They get on the board early, 3 straight goals to kick off the frame. St. Louis, they try to claw back, but eventually it's 2 empty net goals at the end of the frame that really seal the deal there. A 6-3 victory for the Avs and a 2-0 series lead. Game 3 goes back to St. Louis, and this one had a little bit of physicality in the first period. However, there were no goals. The second period, though, saw goals from Graves, Newhook, and Jost. Yeah, this is the game where Ryan Graves scores an absolute gifted goal on his birthday. Jordan Binnington reads the pregame report, oh, it's Graves' birthday today, why not give him a freebie by leaving the net and trying to poke it while Graves walks around me into the empty cage. Okay, There we go, birthday gift. Binnington did not look great in this game, and ultimately the Avalanche get an empty net goal at the end of the frame in the third to take things 5-1. This right here is the pointless game for Nathan MacKinnon. So MacKinnon is a guy who in game number 1 had 3 points. In game number 2, he had himself 4 points, so 7 points in 2 games, really good for Nathan MacKinnon. He had 0 points in game 3, and then in game 4 yesterday, he gets a goal and an assist. St. Louis gets on the board first because Vladimir Tarasenko, oh man, what a great snipe there from Tarasenko. He certainly hasn't been the same ever since returning to the bubble last season, but the version of Tarasenko that once existed, the absolute sniper, the guy who can pick it up, grip it, rip it, and put it in the back of the net, hey, he was back for this goal here. Ultimately, though, it's not enough because the Colorado Avalanche get goals from Saad, Landeskog, Rantanen, eventually. Tarasenko again gets himself on the power play. 2 goals for him, but Nathan MacKinnon and Nichushkin get themselves empty net markers. The St. Louis Blues end up losing 5-2 in game number 4. They get swept, and we have Ryan O'Reilly's comments after the fact discussing where things went wrong. He says himself right here, "I'm very disappointed with myself. It was pretty pathetic. I didn't really do much this series, and especially against that top line. They're a very good line. Obviously, they're going to get chances and make plays, and I had the opportunity early to see a lot of that line and play them harder, and I didn't do my job. And if I'm not going to do my job, you can't expect anyone else to do theirs." Oh boy, that's really big taking accountability right there for Ryan O'Reilly. Pretty good leadership kind of qualities in this guy. But at the end of the day, it is kind of interesting just to take a look at what happened before. We're going to have some fun with the Blues, and we're going to beat them. We're going to beat these guys. And then afterwards, it's, we played pretty pathetic. And he also says, "I thought we would have been able to tilt the ice a bit more and take the momentum back. Obviously, with that team, with the way they play, they're going to have momentum at times. But we sure didn't grab it back like we needed to and sustain pressure. We were sporadic. It wasn't consistent. You clearly see what happens. They dominated us. Simple as that." Vladimir Tarasenko had a few things as well. The answer is there's no excuses. I can tell whatever I want to say. Like, we don't fight enough. But it is what it is. This is embarrassing, always to lose in the playoffs, especially like this. There's no words that much you can see. Take a look at this stat over here from Jeremy Rutherford, games 1 through 3. The Blues' highest-paid forwards had 2 points combined in the first 3 games of the series. It was a Schenn power play goal and an O'Reilly shorthanded assist, no 5v5 points. Meanwhile, the Avalanche's highest-paid forwards in the series in the first 3 games had 20 points combined. Yeah, they really got offense from the guys that they expected to get offense from. And furthermore, wrapping everything up for the St. Louis Blues in the 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs, Ryan O'Reilly finishes things off with 3 points in 4 games. Robert Thomas had the same. Tarasenko, 2 goals. They all came in Game 4. Jordan Binnington wraps things up in the playoffs this year with 4 games started, 4 losses, 125 saves and 139 shots, 14 goals against, an .899 save percentage. Oh boy. And a 3.59 goals against average. Yeah, that's, oh boy, really, really bad. It's kind of crazy how this goes down, how the Blues end up being so good in the postseason in 2019. They have that miracle run from Jordan Binnington at the end of the regular season, pushing them into the playoffs. Eventually, he's a beast. They win the cup. The next year in the bubble, okay, it's an off year. Everybody's got this thing going around. It's a pandemic. Okay, they lost to a hungry Vancouver team. The year after that, okay, they barely squeak into the playoffs, and they get absolutely demolished on the score sheet by Colorado. Sure, the officiating played a part in this series. No doubt about that. But at the end of the day, the numbers tell the story here. Nathan MacKinnon had himself 7 points in the first 2 games. He didn't score in Game 3, and they still won quite handily. You have yourselves a series where literally every single game was won by 3 or more goals. Colorado just absolutely took it to St. Louis. And my only question is here, where do you go as your next step? What happens now? What happens now for the Blues? Because obviously no hockey team wants to go out there and have results like this. But if you're taking a look at how exactly things went about, you can't be looking at this season and saying that this playoff performance was a win. Absolutely not. There are so many things to improve upon, so I want you to tell me in the comments what those are and where you can go from here if you're the St. Louis Blues and the overall management they have. So talk to me in the comments what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. Ash Rolls 99. and bye.